All right, boys and girls, this is Math Message 2-12. This is a main math lesson of the day, and today we're going to be exploring fractions, area, and volume. Now, when we do explorations in class, this is a time for you to explore and to experiment with these different topics before we really dive in and learn the nitty-gritty in these topics. So it's really just kind of a chance for you to get your feet wet and explore. So if you were doing this in class, we would have 3 different stations set up. We would have one for fractions, one for area, and one for volume. So as I go through this video, I'm going to let you know what materials you're going to need to gather so that you can do the exploration at home. So you're probably going to have to do a lot of pausing the video to gather some things that you may need. Right, so for exploration A, this is exploring fraction circles. And you're going to need your math journal or your math workbook and turn it to page 60. This is lesson, again, 2-12, and this would be the exploration A page for fraction circles. You're also going to want to get on your Everyday Math account and click on the online tools and find fraction circles. Right, so when you get onto your everyday math lesson or your everyday math account, you're going to go over here to where it says the e-toolkit. And we've done this a lot in class, so you should be able to find that pretty easily. Now, once you're on your toolkit, you're going to come down here to the bottom left-hand corner and click your e-tools, and you're going to scroll down until you find fraction circles. Okay, and then this gives you all of the tools that you're going to need for this exploration. All right, now when you get on your journal page or in your workbook, page 60, this is what you're going to see. And I just want you to literally go through this and just explore. Do exactly what that workbook page says to do, okay? You see here where it says the red circle is the whole. And so a whole means the entire thing, right? So when you get onto your toolkit, you'll just pull up the red circle, and that's your whole circle. Now, let's just pretend it's a cookie. So this is the whole cookie. So then you're going to go through and you're just going to do exactly what it says. It wants to know how many yellow pieces would cover that red circle. It wants to know how many dark blue pieces would cover the red circle and how many pink pieces would cover the red circle. And then it wants to know what fraction or part of the red circle is one pink piece. Now again, guys, we haven't really dived into fractions yet. This is just a chance for you to explore. So you're just going to kind of do exactly what it says. It wants to know how many pink pieces would cover it, so you can pull up your pink pieces, and then your yellow pieces, your dark blue pieces, and just follow what it says to do. Now, you know, if you ever need to break these pieces apart, if you use that little hammer, it's going to break those fraction pieces apart. If you need to get rid of them, you can just drag them over to the trash can. Okay, so then when you go scroll down for number 4 and 5, it says the pink piece is your whole. And so this always kind of confuses people sometimes. So I'm going to pull up the pink pieces. I'm going to break it apart. I'm just going to throw away that one, because now it's saying the pink piece is my whole. Now, every year boys and girls think, well, that's not whole, that's half. Well, anything can be a whole. Like if I were baking cookies, could I bake a cookie that looks just like this if I had a cookie cutter that looked like that? And so when I pull it out of the oven, this is my whole cookie. Okay, so now when it's asking you the question, how many yellow pieces cover one pink piece? Well, when you look at that, pull up the yellow pieces, how many yellow pieces would it take to cover that pink piece? Okay, it's different from how many yellow pieces it took to cover the red piece, right? So think about what is your whole. If it says this is your whole, then that's your whole cookie. If it says this is your whole, then that's your whole cookie. Okay, you could even have one of these pieces be your whole. Let me get rid of a couple of these. This could be my whole cookie. You know, I could have a cookie cutter that looks just like this, and when I bake it and it comes out of the oven, this is my whole cookie. Okay. All right, so I just want you to explore, just follow through your workbook page and use that online tool with your fraction circles. Here at school, we have little fraction pieces that you can use, but if you're doing this from home, those online tools will do the job. All right, so let's look at Exploration B. Now you can either pause the video and do exploration A, or you can kind of just listen to my directions for all the explorations and then just get started on it. But for exploration B, this is going to be measuring area. Now area is kind of like if I want to measure the area of my desk, it's like my whole desktop. And so that's what we're going to be working on. Now you need your workbook page 61 for that. You also need centimeter grid paper. You need 1-inch grid paper. And then you need some rectangular shaped objects. Now I'm going to put a link on my web page so that you can print some grid paper, or you can even Google centimeter grid paper and inch grid paper so that you can print it off, because you are going to need that. And it looks like, let's see, it looks like this. So this is the 1-inch grid paper and this is the centimeter grid paper. And what do you notice about the inch grid paper and the centimeter grid paper? Did you notice how the little squares on the centimeter grid paper is smaller than the squares on the inch grid paper? Kind of like when we look at our rulers, the centimeters are smaller than the inches. So it's going to take a lot more centimeters to cover an area than it would inches. All right, so then here's what you're going to do on that. You're going to gather some items that's rectangular, maybe a box of cards, maybe a calculator, maybe an eraser, maybe a box of crayons. You're going to gather some things that's rectangular shaped. And then you are going to set those objects on top of the grid paper, and then you're going to answer some questions in your workbook page. So following these directions, the one thing it says to use is an everyday math deck. That's our deck of cards that we have in class. If you have a deck of cards at home, that would be great, okay? Lay that deck of cards down on top of your centimeter grid paper. And then you're going to tell me how many squares it took and you can even like trace the outline of it, but how many squares did it take to cover that box of cards? And then you're going to pick another, and then you're going to do that the same thing on the inch grid paper, okay? So you're literally going to like lay down your box of cards and trace them, and then tell me what the area, how many squares it took to cover that space, and then you're going to lay that same object down on the inch grid paper and answer the same question. Then you're going to do that with, whoops, I went the wrong way. You're going to do that with another object. So pick another rectangular object and do the same thing. Okay, and then it asks you to compare your square centimeters and your square inch measurements and tell me what do you notice. Okay, so that is exploration B, where you're going to be exploring area. And we'll learn a lot more about area coming up soon. And then finally, your exploration C. This is where you're going to be looking at liquid volume. Okay, volume is the amount of space that a liquid would take up. And so for this, you're going to need your workbook page 62. You're going to need 3 containers that will hold liquids. So maybe it might be a water bottle, maybe it's a coffee cup, maybe it's an empty juice box, okay? But 3 different containers that would hold different liquids. And then you need something that's going to help you to measure milliliters. So hopefully you have a measuring cup in your house that not only measures in cups and ounces, but also something that measures in milliliters, okay? And I guess if you don't, you could just go ahead and do this exploration using cups and ounces. All right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to gather those things. Let me just get the workbook page. All right, so you're going to draw containers A, B, and C. So let's say you have a water bottle, you're going to draw that here. If you have a coffee cup, you'll draw that here. And if you have an empty juice box, you're going to draw that here. Whatever those containers are that you used, okay? And then it wants you to circle the container in the top row that you think will hold the most water. So you're kind of making a prediction on which one holds the most. And Then it says below each drawing, show the liquid volume that your container can hold by shading in the 1-liter beaker. So then once you make a prediction on which container holds that you think holds the most liquids, then you're going to fill that container with water, and then you're going to pour that water into your measuring cup that you have. That measures in hopefully milliliters, and then you're going to shade in these beakers here to show how much liquid that container really held. And then it asks you some questions like which container holds the most water, and write at least 2 things you noticed about the different liquid volumes. Okay, so boys and girls, that is it for this math message 2-12. You're exploring fractions, area, and volume.